Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts in the comments. But we did it. We're into the final for Saturday. Al Hilal 0, Chelsea 1. Let's start with the positives. Because I think it was a performance that we started really well. We looked like we were going to hit Al Hilal on the front foot. We had some very good open chances opened up for us in the first couple of 10-15 minutes of the game, and it almost looked like we were going to boss the game, dominate, command possession of the ball. Hakim Ziyech was again outstanding, but as the game went on and even before Lukaku's goal, you could tell there was a lot of frustration amongst the squad. Obviously the fans, if you go on Twitter or wherever, there was a lot of frustration from the fans as well. They felt that the performance should have been slightly better, and I have to agree with them. But Lukaku missing an early sitter, it was a game that you thought if we don't get a goal in this half, this could go against us here. So fair play to Lukaku. He couldn't really miss that goal. It was basically an open goal. If he missed that, I'm sure the fan base would have had a nightmare with him. But he scores. He gives us the 1-0 lead. But let's talk about some of the other players as well, because I think there's a couple of players that were outstanding today. We'll go through them. I mean, Kepa, of course, we know what Kepa's about. He's one of the best goalkeepers in form at the moment. Obviously, he's done very well since Mendy's been at the African Cup of Nations. So, to see him pull off some brilliant saves, not just in the first half, but in the second half, was even more so in the second half when Al Hilal suddenly came back into the game. I think the change to Jorginho going off and Kante coming on slightly changed things. It allowed Al Hilal back into the game. They were allowed to string a couple of passes together in the midfield, which went against us at times. But I feel obviously Kante coming on, he drives the ball a lot more. He gets in forward positions a lot more as well. He looks for that forward pass, and I feel sometimes with Jorginho, and a lot of the time he does do a lot of the sort of tracking back and the cleaning up, the sweeping up that I mentioned in the previous video. But I feel with Kante coming on, it did give us another element of attacking force, very much like when Mason Mount came on. Very frustrated, as you could tell that he was on the bench. This is a big game, not just for the club, but for players like Mason Mount, who have probably dreamed about playing in a Club World Cup throughout their career. So when he came on, there was obviously a different energy towards our attacking front three. And I did think that, again, Hakim Ziyech was a brilliant player for us as well. The defence, he done what it needed to do. I think you look at the three centre-backs in Rudiger, Silva and Christensen. I felt like they'd done what they needed to do. Obviously, Rudiger gets stuck in. We know what he's about. He doesn't mess around when it comes to tackling and getting stuck in. And Silva, as I mentioned, the experienced head between the two of them, it worked well. I thought he was quite lucky. I thought there was a tackle on Igalo, which some will say it was a dive, but he was lucky to get away with that one as well. Kovacic early on as well, again, someone who likes to, stamp his authority in the game. He done that early on in the game. Again, lucky to get away without getting booked early in the first half. But again, someone like Kovacic, who is in the team, we'd be lost without him. He's one of those players that, again, drives forward, looks for those forward passes, runs with the ball, looks with his head up, picks out the perfect pass 9 out of 10 times. So for me, Kovacic was probably arguably man of the match ahead of Ziyech, who again was a man of the match performance. But looking at Lukaku, I know a lot of people again are going to have a lot of frustrations with him, a lot of concerns that he didn't play the best football. But in my opinion, look, we're through to the final. Lukaku scored the winning goal. This might actually work in his favour and boost that confidence that he looks like he's lacking at the moment. There were still signs that he shouldn't be missing some of the opportunities. Just going back now, there was a brilliant ball in from Mason Mount in the second half. Almost misses all three of the Chelsea players in the box, but there's small signs from Lukaku that he's trying to do the right thing. And I think as long as he can do that and he can score goals, I'm pretty sure, if he does that again on Saturday and gets the winner or helps get us to that trophy, then I'm sure a lot of the fans will relax that pressure that they're giving him at the moment, which is rightfully deserved as well. But just looking at the players that we had on the pitch, I think, Kai Havertz again was brilliant, stretching the defence, looking for the forward pass. He was making it difficult for their defenders, and he played a pivotal role in today's game as well. I do have to shout out some of the players for Al Hilal. Obviously, Agarlo was one of the key players that we mentioned earlier in the previous video, and he done well. I thought Pereira would have done a lot more. I think we were able to keep him a lot more quiet than I've expected us to do so. But at the same time as well, you have to give credit to a lot of these players, because coming into a tournament where you're not familiar with the team, you don't necessarily know what to expect from them, and to play the way that we did, for me, was what we needed. Obviously, it wasn't the best performance. We can't go into Saturday's final playing like that. It was poor in spells, but there were some positives to take out of that, and I think the fact that we were able to keep a clean sheet, we defensively we were good. I do think bringing out Jorginho and bringing in Kante, not to say that I don't want to see Kante in the final, but I do think bringing in Jorginho kind of opened up the midfield, opened up the game, stretched the play in the second half completely. Al Hilal were knocking on the door, 2, 3, 4 times in the second half, and could easily have got a goal if it wasn't for Kepa and some of the fabulous saves that he pulled off. So I think we have to be lucky that we've got 2 good goalkeepers in Mendy and Kepa, that we can now look like we can rely on both of them when they're asked to step up. And I think for me, Kepa, again, my 3 standout players would have been Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, and Kepa. I thought the 2 of them, again, Ziyech and Kepa, against Plymouth were brilliant, and again today they done that. So we've got to step it up in the final. I don't think we can play like that in the final at all. We'll get dismantled. I do expect some changes. I think we're looking at a big game, in a couple of days' time. So I think you might see a few changes, whether that be, does Alonso need to play? I thought Alonso was probably the least effective player today. You saw that switch with Malang Sarr coming in, who I thought done a reasonably good job for the minutes that he was on. But you look at the likes of, Trevor Chalobah, who's potentially could come in for a Christensen. Ideally you want Silva to still play in that final, but again, for the experience. For me personally, I'd be ashamed not to play Mason Mount. The way that he came into that game, took it by the scruff of the neck and did what he needed to do. It'd be a shame to leave him out. But on the flip side of that, you've got Hakim Ziyech, who's in brilliant form. You've got Kai Havertz, who's, again, a player that I like. I like the fact that he does a lot off the ball. But then you've got the likes of Christian Pulisic as well. But one of the things I've always said about our front three is that it's not consistent. And I feel that's potentially one of the reasons why Thomas Tuchel, the coaching staff, are persevering with him, and they're playing a lot of the football around him, because you need a bit of consistency, you need a bit of that link up, and we saw a little bit of that today, with Mason Mount and Hakim Ziyech looking for Lukaku and trying to feed the ball through to him as well. Same with Kovacic. So there's the consistency needs to be there, in my opinion. So as much as I said I wouldn't play Lukaku in this game, it did pay off well. But again, like I said about Al Hilal, we have to guard against complacency in the final. We can't play, and rest on our laurels and get a 1-0 early goal or a second half goal and then sit back and allow the other teams, to come on to us. So I think we need to definitely press on, get a second goal if we can in the final. And hopefully we can bring home that elusive trophy, which has been sort of shying away from us for many, many years. But we have to credit Thomas Tuchel as well, because obviously, although he wasn't there, I think he's one of the first managers that I can think of that has got to every final possible in club competition in the space of 14 months, 13 months. So we have to credit Thomas Tuchel, the coaching staff, as well. But we've got to step it up on Saturday. We can't play like that on Saturday. We will get hammered if we play like that on Saturday. Mark my words. But this has been T.Dot. Quick video, quick match review. Let's hope we can get the Saturday out of the way with a victory. We can celebrate in style. We will be back on Saturday if we win 100%. I'm going to try and get Theo on here as well. So this has been From the Shed End, T.Dot. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. We will be back in a couple of days with some more video content.